Jack and the Beanstalk. Something enormous was climbing down through the clouds toward the house, and the boy who put it there had no idea how he was going to stop it. Long before the magic began, a shadow often fell over the valley. High above the swirling mists, something massive stirred behind the veil of the sky. Jack stood by his small thatched cottage, his heart racing as he watched a heavy, dark shape loom behind the clouds, far larger than any bird or mountain peak. Jack and his mother, Alara, lived in a small cottage with almost nothing left to their name, except one old cow named Milky White. One morning his mother told him there was no choice. "Take her to the market. We must sell her for enough coins to buy bread for the winter, or we shall surely starve." Jack nodded, his grip tightening on the old cow's lead as he began the walk to town. On the road, Jack met a stranger wrapped in a tattered, dark cloak who offered him a handful of beans in exchange for the cow. "I have no gold coins," the stranger whispered, his eyes gleaming. He opened his palm to reveal 5 shimmering beans. "But these are magic. Plant them, and by morning they will reach the very heavens." Jack, more hopeful than wise, agreed at once. When Jack returned home without a single coin, only beans, Alara was furious. "Magic beans for our only cow?" she cried in despair. She snatched the beans from his hand and threw them out the small cottage window into the dark, overgrown garden below. She sent him to bed without supper, and Jack watched the beans disappear into the shadows of the night. By morning, something had grown where the beans had landed. A beanstalk, thick as a tree trunk, climbed up past the roof and vanished into the clouds above. It was wider than a grand oak, and stronger than iron, spiraling up and up. The cottage looked tiny beside it, and the world felt silent and small beneath its massive emerald leaves. Jack climbed without stopping to think twice, higher than any tree, higher than any bird he'd ever seen. He gripped the gnarled branches as he pulled himself upward, the air growing thin and crisp. He climbed until the ground below disappeared completely, and he stepped out onto the top of the stalk, finding himself standing on a solid, white cloud. Across the endless clouds stood a castle unlike anything in Jack's world. Its towers seemed to scrape the sun itself, and the stones were the size of houses. A path led to an entrance so large Jack could barely see the top of the jagged wooden doors. He felt like a tiny ant as he crept toward the giant stone fortress. The massive door creaked open, and a woman as tall as a hill looked down. "Run, little one," Gerda, the giant's wife, warned him. "My husband, the giant blunderbore, returns soon. He can smell a human from a mile off, and he's eaten smaller things than you for breakfast." Jack looked up at her, feeling very small beside her giant wooden shoes. Heavy footsteps shook the whole castle. Gerda hid Jack inside a large cupboard, just as Blunderbore thundered into the kitchen, sniffing the air suspiciously. "Fee-fi-fo-fum," he roared, his voice echoing like thunder through the halls. "I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive, or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." Gerda convinced him it was only the smell of his supper. The giant sat down to eat a feast that could have fed a village before pulling out a small hen. "Lay," he commanded. To Jack's astonishment, as he peeked through the cupboard slats, the hen clucked and produced an egg of solid, shimmering gold. Blunderbore let out a booming laugh. The giant soon fell into a deep, thunderous sleep that rattled the castle stones. Jack crept out of his hiding place, moving like a shadow across the floor. He reached up to the table, snatched the hen under his arm, and whispered, "Don't make a sound." He turned and ran as fast as his legs would carry him back toward the door. But the hen let out a sudden, piercing squawk, and the giant woke with a roar. "Thief!" he bellowed. Jack reached the beanstalk and scrambled down as fast as he could, the hen tucked tight under his arm. High above, Blunderbore's massive hands gripped the vine, shaking the world as he began to climb down right behind Jack. Jack reached the ground and called for an axe. Elora threw one from the cottage doorway, her face pale with fright. Jack swung the heavy blade again and again at the beanstalk's base. "Mother, get back!" he shouted. The beanstalk groaned and swayed as the giant's massive boots emerged from the clouds, climbing closer to the earth. The beanstalk cracked and toppled with a thundering crash, and the giant fell with it, gone for good. Jack and Elora never went hungry again, for the hen laid a golden egg every morning. They stood together in their quiet, sunny garden, no longer poor, but happy and safe. Jack looked at the clear sky, a hero who had faced the clouds.